it is Skullsy, and let's be real. This weekend, for me personally, is the biggest fight in heavyweight boxing history that is going to happen. We have the baddest man in boxing versus the baddest man maybe in MMA. Clashing, fighting together. Both of them have incredible and interestingly beautiful stories. They both have got, we have Tyson Fury, a man that suffers with severe mental health, that nearly threw absolutely everything away. We have Francis Ngannou, man, a refugee from Cameroon that went to France and became a star. Okay, he's a natural athlete and an absolute beast, and we know Tyson Fury is one of the most skillful big guys in the business. Let's be real, let's talk about the numbers, let's talk about the stats, let's talk about what I think's going to happen. So let's start with Francis Ngannou. It's a nice t-shirt, it's a nice t-shirt. So Francis Ngannou, alright, he has lost 3 fights. 3 fights he has lost. He's lost a fight against a guy called Cisse. He was a journeyman MMA fighter. Very early into Ngannou's career, I believe it was a decision. As I've watched the fight, it is what it is. There's nothing much to say to it. It's pretty much, you can tell Ngannou was very early in his career and he has developed and grown since that fight. But the more interesting ones is that he fought Derek Lewis, and Derek Lewis is one of the best power punchers in the world, and that fight was very equal. I think at times you saw that Derek Lewis had more of a veteran element to what he was doing, and again, it was the less experienced Ngannou who lost that fight. That's my viewpoint. And then let's talk about Stipe. Stipe is the greatest heavyweight MMA star or UFC star of all time, and we're going to see him fight John Jones to actually prove that in a few months' time. And he lost against Stipe as well, and that was a very good fight. A very good fight because he was built up to be the guy that was going to beat Stipe, but didn't. But later on, he did beat Stipe and beat the living shite out of him. And this is kind of the interesting thing about Francis Ngannou, all right? And this is what I will say about this. Francis Ngannou has big names on his list. Francis Overeem, man. One of the greatest kickboxers of all time. One of the biggest and best heavyweights of all time when it comes to mixed martial arts. He beat Cain Velasquez, man. And Cain Velasquez, one of my favourite fighters. Just a beast of what he did in the ring. Everything he did was beast mode. He also beat Dos Santos. And look, man, there's an argument. Look, he's beating a bunch of old men. Maybe he was beating a bunch of old men towards the end of the career, but he did beat guys like Blades, and he did beat Gain, the French kickboxer lad as well. That's just had a scrap with bloody John Jones a little while ago. So he actually has beaten the old and the new. Francis Ngannou wasn't jackass forever. He has the hardest recorded punch of all time. He is a former UFC world champion, unbeaten because his contract ran out, and then he signed for PFL, and he's also been allowed to do boxing exhibitions like what he's going to be doing. This isn't an exhibition, actually. I changed my term on this. This is a lineal heavyweight championship title belt. The man who beat the man, sort of Shiznik. And let's look at Tyson Fury's numbers and stats and a little bit about him. Tyson bloody Fury, the man of the heavyweight division in that sense. And we know that he has a great story. But let's have a look at some of the facts on him. Look, man, he has had 34 fights. He drew one of them fights. And I will say that one fight that he drew, he definitely didn't draw. Okay, no debate about that. The judges were on Wilder's side that night. Because basically, if Tyson Fury, after being a fat git, mental breakdown, form or whatever, all right, came back and beat Wilder, the boxing would have been a joke. So I think that was very interesting, that fight. It was definitely not a draw though. Fury won that 100%. But he has had 33 wins as well, and that is winning against people like Wilder. Probably the most dangerous man, I think, in boxing, in the sense if he swings at you, you're dead. All right, that's why I'd rather see Ngannou versus Wilder, 2 of the heaviest hitters of all time in that element. He beat Wladimir Klitschko, the legend, the Ironheart, another great puncher. He beat Chisora twice on White as well. And there's a lot of questions is his list as good as AJ's, or is his list as good as other guys that are fighting in the division? Because some of them names are kind of, people would say are nobodies, but they are still ranked fighters. He also did a great documentary series where we saw more about him at home with the Furies. He has his famous drink, Furosity, and his protein bars. I will say this, the protein bars are horrible, but Furosity in itself, the championship gold drink, is beautiful. Tastes like Lilt, man. Tastes like Lilt. He's ventured into pro wrestling, had a scrap with Braun Strowman. And he has won everything in boxing. In boxing, he has won everything. He is a current world champion holder. He has the lineal world belt as well. The man who beat the man who beat the man. That belt's on the line in this fight. Now, as I said, let's be real. All right. Okay. I know Francis Ngannou is being written off. He is being written off to hell. And I want to tell you a few reasons why. But Eddie Hearn basically said a few days ago, interestingly enough, that Francis Ngannou can't punch. All right. I laughed at that. I think I love Eddie Hearn to pieces, and I like how he's a very opinionated guy, but sometimes he's an absolute imbecile with what he says. Ngannou can clearly punch. He has 17 fucking knockouts in UFC, man. He is very capable of striking. This isn't, I don't think this is the same argument of Jake Paul fighting MMA fighters such as Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley, Nate Diaz, flipping Anderson Silva. I think this is a guy, Ngannou is 37 years old. He is in prime. He is fundamentally a striker only sort of guy, and he does have the hardest punch in the world. I think the best thing to do is put the similarities to Deontay Wilder in a lot of ways. Wilder doesn't have the greatest movement. He has one amazing punch in that sense. So Ngannou, from my perspective, is the same as what Wilder is in a lot of ways, and that's what he can offer this fight. Ngannou, if he catches Fury, Fury is going to go on his fucking arse, all right? Like he did a fair few times when Deontay Wilder hit him. And I don't think there'll be anything wrong with that, because if a heavyweight gets hit by another heavyweight, you're going down. I always say to my little brother, I'm really small, but my brother's a broad old bastard. I'm faster than him. My cardio is better than him, but he's stronger than me. Fact. He weighs more than me. Fact. Okay. If he lands a punch on me, I'm going on my fucking ass. I'm honest about that. But that's if he lands a punch on me. And I say this all the time to him. If you land a punch on me. All right. And it's the same with Fury versus Ngannou. If Ngannou lands a punch on Fury, I think Fury loses this fight. I've said this. I said this to my brother-in-law, just talking to my brother about it. I said this to my wife. I said this to my incredible friends, Ashley and Rob. Ngannou will win this fight if he hits Fury. Now, that's a big thing. Fury's one of the greatest dancers ever in the business. There's only maybe... In the heavyweight division, it's quite interesting. We have Andy Ruiz, can dance like a god. We also have Usyk, that has great movement. But Fury's movement is at the elite level of people like Muhammad Ali, fundamentally. Or even Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson had great movement in how he did stuff. All right? So that's the big thing. But I think Ngannou, for me, did the right thing. So he's got Mike Tyson on his side. Mike Tyson showing him some bits and bobs, how to shape up, go for that undercut and all that sort of jazz. And I think that element is on his side. Who's going to win this fight? Oh, do you know what, mate? If I say who I think is going to win this fight, I'm going to be destroyed on the internet. But do you know what? I'm a Brit. I love Fury. Okay? All right? I love everything that he gives boxing. But I want Francis Ngannou to win. I want him to knock Fury out in the second or third round. I love boxing, but I love MMA. I loved Ngannou since word go. I think Ngannou has a lot to offer boxing if he wins the lineal title. We don't know, he might get a scrap with somebody like Deontay Wilder. But that is a big if. I want, and what's going to happen is two totally different things. I think Fury's movement might end up being too much for him. But that's my viewpoint. I'm not going to change my mind. On the Boxing Day, we'll have this conversation again. But I will have a little chat at some point this week about the undercard, because the undercard is good. Love it or hate it, the undercard is good.